don't talk too much.
Don't get blinded by the sun.
Yeah, seriously. I look so white in this. Hello, everybody. Let's see. I got to turn this on. Let me see if I can turn it on. Got some sunlight shining on my face. I look even whiter than usual, but maybe if I do that, it'll look okay. And I just shook everything. Well, what can you do? Alright, setting that up, and let's get going. Happy Friday the 13th, everybody. As you can see, I've been sketching a little bit. It's a little tighter than usual, but I tried not to do too much in terms of spotting the blacks and stuff, or too much detail. I'm going to have a lot of fun with this face, I just know it. Still got throat bothering me some from yesterday, but not as bad as yesterday, so that's good. All right. Looks like there are 2 people in here. Hello, Jesus. Nice to see you. Virtually see you. So, yeah, this morning I was feeling a lot worse than I was last night, but as the days progressed, I've felt a little bit better. Throat's bothering me, but so what? I want to give this guy nice, broad shoulders. But I'm hiding a lot of the anatomy under a really torn up shirt. So, got competing goals there in a sense. So, happy Friday the 13th, everybody. I love the Friday the 13th movies, so I actually sort of treat it almost like a holiday. I usually do some Friday the 13th artwork, or have like a Friday the 13th themed party, or watch some of the movies at the very least. So yeah, I always try to sort of make something of the day. Pretty silly, I guess, but it's fun. And when it happens within October like this, I feel like I'm almost getting two Halloweens, because that's kind of what I treat it like. I'm gonna have so much fun drawing this face. Hello, Anja, Aku, and Lobo. Hello, all of you. Look at that. Hi, salute, hello, good evening. I love it. So I'm drawing one of my favorite movie monsters, Jason Voorhees, from Friday the 13th for today. There was a prompt. The prompt was teaming. I guess it doesn't really relate to what I'm illustrating. I tried to think of a way to make it fit with what I felt like drawing today, but I guess it was too much of a stretch. So, not, if you can think of some way that this relates to teaming, then let me know. But basically, I've decided to illustrate Jason because I just felt like it. It's Friday the 13th, and I wanted to embrace that. And I've got a lot to illustrate here, so I'm going to try to work fast for myself anyway. We'll see what I can do. Hi, Shirley. Nice to have you here. So let's see. It's Friday. Anybody got weekend plans? Anything good going on? Hope everybody's doing all right. But speak up to me or each other with anything cool you have planned. Mark Barrener says, teaming with dead teenagers? In a way, I mean, I was definitely considering like a drawing of like Jason and like all these teenagers, but then that felt like they were all attacking him, and I couldn't come up in my own head with a good idea for execution there. So, and then I also considered drawing him with teaming with like maggots and worms, but that sort of felt just sort of gross without much purpose. So I just decided to split the difference in all these ideas and draw Jason uh, in one of my favorite looks. Not necessarily one of my favorite movies of his, but I thought that his look in part 7 was really amazing. So that's what I'm doing. All right, almost done with my outline, and then I can begin on the work itself with some more detail and use a more appropriate brush. All right, that'll do for now. Let's see. Lobo says, when you buy an old beat-up comic, do you ever wonder about its history? Who bought it? What part of the country? How many times it was passed around, traded, sold, etc., until it ended up with you? Yeah, I actually do think about something like that. And, there's not really any way to know, but yeah, that's an interesting question just because I absolutely think about that. I guess I figure other comic fans do as well, but it's nice to sort of have that confirmed. Let's see. Sigmig says, Evil Dead? Oh, Jason, have you tried that Friday the 13th game? Yeah, I've played it a bunch. I've played it not in a little bit. I haven't played it lately because I've been busy. But when I was a supporter of it on Kickstarter. As I said, I'm a really big fan of Friday the 13th, so I supported that Kickstarter, and I really like it. I like it quite a bit. I think I'm pretty good at it too. So yeah, good game. Very much feels like you're either in or watching the movies. Very loyal. Yeah, good game. Um, let's see. Keelan says, I can't because I don't have my supplies or any for that matter, but I'm definitely here to watch. I can't draw, I mean. I apparently can't talk or type. Don't worry, man. I understand what you're saying. Mark Bariner says, seems like you shook that cough. Mostly. Mostly. I woke up this morning feeling a lot worse. But somewhere around lunchtime, it turned a corner. I started to feel a lot better. Not perfect, but better. Lobo says once in a while he'll see a kid's name written on a comic book that he's purchased, an old one. Yeah, it makes you like wonder like whose hands it went through and what the journey was to ultimately end up with you. I figured if I illustrated this Jason with his really torn up clothes, give me an opportunity to do some feathering, maybe some cross hatching, and work on my sort of consistency in my technique's approach. We'll see. But that's my sort of personal goal tonight, as well as sort of trying to work a little faster. As I do worry that I'm too slow, that I draw too slowly. Nice to see everybody here tonight. Thank you. It's Friday, it's the weekend. I didn't necessarily expect a huge bunch. It all depends on how things shake out for people, but love having you all here. Jesus says, is this taking it far Halloween? I dressed up as Jason and I never spoke to anyone. I just stayed silent. Do you mean taking it too far? No, I think that's awesome. That sounds really cool. Sigmigs points out, since Friday the 13th is in October with Halloween, they should have made Michael versus Jason. Well, while the original Halloween is the far superior movie, I think that if that fight were to take place, Jason would win it pretty easily. He's ridiculously supernaturally strong and invincible, and Michael Myers is ultimately still human. So I'd have to give the nod to Jason in that fight. I actually really liked the Freddy vs. Jason movie. I thought that one was fun. But I think I've said before that I actually kind of like all the Friday the 13th movies, even though most of them actually aren't good movies. There's something about them that I enjoy. So here's to our modern movie monsters. Have a drink. This isn't referenced, but I got a little Jason here to keep me company today. Hello, Sly Fly Guy. Sly Fly Guy. Ooh, that's a tricky one to say a bunch of times fast. Sly Fly Guy says, "What's up, guys?" Comic Book Guy says, "What would the Skunk Ape Crew symbol look like?" Like the Mountain Dew symbol. I drink enough of it. Some cross between Mountain Dew and Starbucks. If you hear screaming, that's just kids playing in the playground across the street. It's disturbing. But it ain't me. Let's see. Somebody named Dustin Gentry says +9. I don't know what +9 means, but if it's a score out of 1 to 10, I'll say thank you. Keelan Powell asks, have you seen Chris Stuckman's Hilariosity review of Jason Lives? It's great. I haven't. Jason Lives is part 6. Part 6. Part 6 is really good. Probably the second best one. I don't know who Chris Stuckman is, but I'll look it up. Thanks. I like reviews of these movies, even if they're like sort of pulling them apart and making fun of them. I understand. But yeah, I'll look into that. Very exciting to see some new faces. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for stopping in. Feel free to ask any questions, and I do my best to keep looking up at the chat window. It's to my side, and I try very hard to keep reminding myself to check on it. If for any reason I miss a question, you can definitely ask again. I'm not trying to ignore anybody, I promise. I just every once in a while get lost in whatever I'm drawing and lose track of the time. Let's see. Oh, I got a pop-up window I gotta close. All right. Did I say hello to John Oden? I'm not sure, but hello. Lobo says, I appreciate how your comic tropes episodes are however long you want them to be, instead of short, fast talking presentations catering to people with no attention spans. Well, that's because I'm not trying to hit any sort of magical number and, like, get rich off of making videos the right way or whatever. So I look at my metrics, and people do, like, in general, drop off after 10 minutes or so on almost every video, but that's just the majority. There's like a pretty there's still a big minority that's growing that tends to watch the videos all the way through, or at least like to the last few minutes. So I'm happy. That means that I'm still speaking to an audience that is interested in what I have to say on the topic. So yeah, thanks. Thanks very much. Dustin Gentry says, damn it, sorry, been watching this while I cook, and my kid started pushing buttons on the keyboard. Well, that's fine. Tell your kid +9. I don't know if that's cool or not, but since that's what they typed, I'll just assume that that's the cool new lingo that kids are using, and tell them +9. Sigamig says, what has been the toughest comic tropes challenge? It's an interesting one. Probably just eating something that I don't like. But I'm trying to sort of remember exactly what those were. I think I did something for Naoki Urasawa where my fiance picked me up a bunch of Asian foods, and I know some of them were treats, but some of them were kind of like weird, and I'm like I'm a cowardly eater, as in like I always ask like what's in it, what's in it, okay, okay, and I have to like get myself ready. So eating things is like the scariest for me. Excuse me. Blah, blah, blah. Comic book guy says we could rumble with the South Side Serpents. Am I remembering correctly that those are that's the biker gang in Archie? Are those the South Side Serpents? It sounds like a comic book reference. Dustin Gentry says you get a 10 in my book. Looks awesome so far. Well, thank you. Mark Bariner says, my favorite is Jason Takes Manhattan with the boombox. Yeah, that's pretty good when he just kicks somebody's boombox. The punks act like they're going to fight Jason Voorhees, and he just shows them his face. He just sort of lifts up his mask. Actually, you don't see it. Like, you see it from behind. He just goes like, and they run away in fear. Pretty silly. Part 8 is my favorite. Everybody that's still alive ends up in Manhattan at the end, and they run into the sewers to escape Jason. While down there in the sewers, they meet a maintenance man who says, don't you know that New York flushes its sewers every night with toxic waste? Get out of here! Flushes their sewer with toxic waste. They say it so casually and in passing that I legit didn't really pick up on it the first time I watched the movie. I just didn't think about it. Then later I was like, what are they talking about? Flushing a sewer with toxic waste? That is really absurd and bizarre. And I know we're dealing with sort of a zombie killer, but you have to set that up earlier that like New York, we flush our sewers with toxic waste. What? And then the toxic waste hits Jason. I'm going to spoil a movie for you that's quite old. Yeah, the good guys, a couple of them do survive. The toxic waste turns Jason into a baby. That's not what toxic waste does. It turns him into a baby in the movie, and then in the next movie, he's back to being an adult. No explanation. I love it. I love that ridiculousness. Like nobody cares. There's no continuity from movie to movie. Not careful anyway. Too funny. John Oden said, had a hard time doing something for Teaming Inktober today. Any ideas? Well, clearly I didn't really use their suggestion today. I ditched teaming because I felt like drawing something else. In my opinion, that still counts. What should you draw? I mean, when I think teaming, I think stuff like, lots and lots of little things, an army of little things. So it could be ants, or it could be worms, or just like lots of little things. But I mean, you could make it people. It's just, if I didn't draw this, I probably would have illustrated like a city scene, but specifically of like an alley that would be teeming with garbage. And it would just be an excuse to draw sort of a realistic city alley with a bunch of sort of dumpsters and stuff. But that's me. Lorena Escalier, hello. Thoughts on Lazarus by Rucka? I bought the first 2 trade paperbacks today. Rucka is a great writer. Yeah, he is very good, isn't he? But I haven't read Lazarus, I'm afraid. So I don't have an opinion on that one. Um, what type of book is it? What type of story is Lazarus? Tell me, I'd like to know more. Would you like to know more? I have a friend from Wisconsin in town this weekend, and I'm still doing the live stream. I go to New York, I do the live stream. I have a guest from out of town, I do the live stream. I'm sick, I do the live stream. I'm committed. I'm committed. You guys are showing up to talk to me. The least I can do is sit down for an hour and try to draw. Lorena points out the spicy food challenge was tough. That's true. It really was. Lobo says that he's glad that my camera isn't going crazy tonight. No, I specifically sat down and looked with my fiance. She showed me how the settings work and everything. So if something crazy like that happened again, I'd be able to address it. So yeah. Let's see what else. Sigmig says, I haven't seen any of the Friday the 13th movies. I should marathon it like I did with the Saw movies. I agree. That's a fantastic way of doing it. I don't think you'd get bored. I really don't. I think that that maybe is why I keep coming back to Friday the 13th, is I don't get bored with them, even though they're not necessarily good. I don't think they're boring. So they've got that going in their favor. Bear with me, I'll focus on the questions again in just a second. I'm just thinking out where I want to sort of focus my efforts on this drawing. I know I'm pecking away at it, but I really need to sort of think about where I want to put detail and where I want to leave it a little more open. Well, I'll go back to the face. Jason X just looked weird to me. It is weird, but I like it. I like it quite a bit. There's some really inventive kills in it, and yeah, I think it makes sense in and of itself. That's coming along kind of how I want it to. It's not perfect, but it's okay. Just keep moving. I figure no matter how good you get as an illustrator, you're always probably going to be unhappy with the idea in your head matching what you execute. You can get closer and closer, but that just means you'll get a more precise vision in your head of what you're trying to do. So I try to at least train myself to be okay with moving forward, just moving on, and understanding that it's never quite going to be what I want. I don't think. Ah, shoot. I just wanted to erase some stuff and I smeared some ink. Give me a moment here. I'm going to try to touch that up. Should have been more patient there. All right, I'll come back to the face once that dries. Let's see. Dustin Gentry says, just watched all the episodes of Last Man. I read the comics a few years back. Loved them. Wondering if you've read them. Are you talking about Why the Last Man? By Pia Guerra and Brian K. Vaughan? I think you are. In which case, that's one of my all-time favorite comics. I think it's fantastic. Why the Last Man is great. Whenever they talk about doing an adaptation of it, I get nervous because I'm like, I don't know. I don't want it to. I don't want it to be a bad adaptation. I feel very protective of it somehow. Yeah, great comic. If you haven't read it, Why the Last Man is really good. It's only something like 60 some issues, so it's not that big a commitment. My throat's getting really, really dry. I'm gonna take a lozenge. Keelan Powell says, what version or movie, I guess, of Jason are you drawing? If you already said, sorry, I must have missed it. It's okay. It's Jason Voorhees from Part 7, The New Blood. Probably one of the weaker movies, but some of the best Jason makeup design work. They did a really fantastic job on it. It looks like he's dealing with every single bit of damage you've seen him accumulate over the last several movies. So yeah, I liked his design quite a bit in that one. That's why I'm trying to draw it. Sadie likes the sound of your voice. Aha. Well, I like Sadie. John Oden says, I picked up my first brush pen today. Ever have Schneider Weiss Aventinus? No. Is that the name of the brush pen that you got? If so, I have not tried that one. Let me know what you think of it. As long as I'm reading that post correctly. I'm always looking for recommendations on tools. Probably towards the end of the month, I'll go ahead and bust out some brushes and use some real brushes to ink instead of just technical pens and brush pens. We'll see how that goes. I'm really working hard to suppress a cough. My throat just feels so dry. Mark Barner says, how long should Netflix hold off on The Punisher? They delayed the release in respect to the massacre in Las Vegas. I'm not sure that's quite right. I think that they only delayed the Marvel panel on it. I'm pretty sure that they still plan to release Punisher in November. I could be wrong, but that was my understanding. Is this centered? Yeah. Pull this guy down a little so you can get a little Jason action. What else? Dustin Gentry says, I love Y the Last Man as well, but I meant the French comic series. Might have another title. Richard Aldana fighting for the Royal Cup. Oh, and that's called Last Man? If that's the case, then I don't know that one. It's good? Is it recent or is it old? Let us know. Not familiar with that title. When it comes to foreign comics, I just tend to know the most popular stuff usually, and then I start exploring outwards from there. Lorena says, I want to read Ex Machina by Vaughn, another solid author. Yeah, it's pretty good. I wouldn't say that one is my personal favorite by Vaughn, but it is interesting. Um, I definitely don't think it's a bad book at all. Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, it's Tony Harris does the artwork on that one. Sorry about the cough. I know that's a little gross to cough in public like that. Just thinking light source, what I need to do to start making this look a little more consistent. Let's see here. My fiance and my mother-in-law are both in the chat room saying hi to each other. That cracks me up. That's what I do. I bring families together. I'm a hero. John Oden asks, ever read Day Tripper by Ba and Moon? I have not, but I've definitely seen like pieces of promotional art and stuff for it, and it looks really interesting. So yeah, that's definitely one that I would like to get around to reading at some point. Um, what do you think of it? I'm assuming if you're bringing it up that you liked it, but yeah, what did you like about it, if so? Oh, John Oden says that Day Tripper is in his top 5. That's a pretty big recommendation then. You'll have to tell us what it's about. What makes it so good? Sorry, I went quiet for a while there. Charles says, "Hi, sorry I'm late." I don't think you're late. I think you're just on time, Charles. John Oden is talking about what makes Day Tripper by Ba and Moon so good, and he says the art style, the time jumps in the story. I'm curious. We will have to look for that one. We being me. I'm talking like Venom. We are interested. It looks like there's another question there. Oh, Dustin says Last Man was published in 2013, I think. It's written by Bastien Vivet. I could be mispronouncing that name. Amazon carries all of them, and you can find the first issue on some sites. I originally read it at the Barnes & Noble at Pike Place while waiting to clock in for work. Oh, Dustin, you're semi-local to me then. Pike Place is Seattle. That's my neck of the woods. Let's see. And he definitely enjoyed it. And the show is a prequel, and it's pretty rad as well. I didn't realize that it had a show. All right, so that's all news to me. John says, wait, okay. And John is now talking about Day Tripper, and he says it's written as a trippy autobiography by a fictional character. So there's two solid recommendations we have, folks. Day Tripper and Last Man. Let's keep those in mind. I appreciate a good recommendation. I will remember those. Let me say it to myself again so that I remember. Day Tripper and Last Man. Or Last Man. All right. I'll go back to the face later. I'm going to finish these chains. I want these chains to look like they're done. Ever since hearing Day Tripper, I can't help but think of the Beatles song. She was a day tripper. How about that? Pretty good singing, right? I hope people still like the Beatles. I hope that doesn't make me seem old. Beatles are great. All right, what else? Sigamigs asks, "What's your hometown, Chris?" Boston area. That's where I grew up. That's where I was born. Went there through high school. But yeah. Then ever since college, I've lived in other cities. So uh, just go where work goes, etc. I don't get back to Boston nearly enough. I love it. It has a special place in my heart, but don't really feel the need to live there. But I do miss my family sometimes. It's been a long time since I lived there now. But I go back on the big holidays and probably go out there for like Christmas or something. That's where I grew up. Dustin says, "Grew up in Seattle and surrounding areas. I've got a good story about the hero Phoenix Jones, too. I think a lot of us that live in this area might. He's a real person, and he's also a character." While I'm working, I can hear my cat meowing. He's hungry. You're gonna be waiting a little while, bud. It's not food time. What else are we getting asked? Mark Bariner says, "Ever play Draw Something on the phone?" That sounds familiar. Um, I think I used to. I definitely don't right now, but I think I used to. Excuse me. Let's see here. Comic Book Guy says, "I live in Sturbridge, Massachusetts." Sure, I know Sturbridge. I want to say there's sort of a colonial area there called Sturbridge Village. Am I remembering that right? Or maybe it's just like what the sort of downtown area of stores was called, potentially. I'm not sure if I'm remembering that right or not. It's been quite a while since I lived in Massachusetts, even though I consider it home. John Oden says, "Have heard you mention Brat Pack in a previous episode. I put it with Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns as groundbreakers in group deconstruction. Totally agree." Trope, not group. Yep. Yeah, it is. It's dark, but yeah, that's just something that happened organically in the '80s in comics. Was all of a sudden certain writers and artists wanted to break down what made superheroes and start examining it in a new lens of like, oh, well, what if this was just a little more realistic? Like what elements hold and which elements don't carry water. It was an interesting time interesting results. I think sometimes a little depressing, but like Superman, if you take him too realistically, it gets depressing. You've got a guy with godlike power. But in his own context, in Superman stories, where he's just got like the most moral heart of all of us, that's nothing to worry about. That's my take on Superman anyway, is that like even though he's alien, he's kind of the most human of all of us. And it has more to do with where he was raised and how he was raised than his biological history. But your mileage may vary. That's what I think of when I think of Superman. Let's see. What's a weird thing about Jason? Asks Jesus. A weird thing? I guess the fact that he seems to have been learning disabled is kind of a weird addition to his history. Generally, that would mean that you're more sympathetic to such a character. They didn't go that direction. What else have we got? Comic book guy says that I'm right. OSV, Old Sturbridge Village. Yeah. John Oden says, can I mention the Pro here? I think you just did. Is that by, who's that by? The Pro. Is that Palmiotti? Garth Ennis? I can't remember. Amanda Connor does the art. Is that right? I think so. You tell us. What made you think of that? Is that your recommendation? I'm all for people spreading recommendations, but explain why you're recommending it if so that people can say like, yes, that is an element of storytelling that I like, or that might not be for me. But I love the idea of spreading recommendations. If I block the light like this, you can sort of see my face, right? Sort of. Hi. Maybe I need to try to adjust this a little. I don't think it's going to work right now. Eh. Oh, I did get them both. Okay. Thanks, John. Keelan says, so now I'm updating my favorite Inktober days to today, yesterday, day 2 in. Oh, I think that's several sentences. Now I'm updating. Wait, I'm not sure what that means. Sorry. Does it mean you're doing Inktober? Oh, maybe you were saying you liked what I was doing? It's possible, I suppose. Somebody out there might. If I have time tonight, I'm going to bust out one of the Friday the 13th movies. I'm not sure which one, but if I have time, I'm going to watch one just for the novelty of the day and all. Sigamigs asks, have you heard of the manga My Lesbian Experiences with Loneliness? I have not. What is it about? No, not familiar with that one. Keelan says, I messed up again. I'm so tired, but couldn't miss the stream. Well, we appreciate having you here. Thank you. Thanks for being here. You're not messing up. Folks, I mean, if you're tired because you've got a work or family life or even other personal projects, etc., that's fine. Like nobody has to do Inktober. It's a lot of work. Nobody has. The way I look at it too is it needs to be on some level fun. Now it could become work if you're lucky enough to be a pro. At the same time, you gotta like what you do. Give me 1 second. I've got a small dizzy spell coming on. I don't get these too often, but every once in a while I get one. It could have something to do with the fact that I'm a little sick, but everything's sort of spinning right now. It's just hard to concentrate on the drawing. Everything looks like it's moving kind of like on a roller coaster for me. I'm probably a little dehydrated, honestly. That could be it. It'll pass. I'll try to read. Keelan says that he meant my days. Today's yesterday and day 2 are his favorite. Well, thank you. That's really nice. Sigmig says that the manga My Lesbian Experiences with Loneliness is an autobiography about struggling with depression and sexuality. I thought it was surprisingly cute. Huh. Wow. Well, it sounds interesting. I'll have to try to remember that one and look it up. And Cheney Rabbit has joined, saying, just waking up for my tomorrow's work, 3 a.m. here. Oh my gosh. Wait, 3 a.m. Okay, so that's 8 hours ahead. Are you somewhere around Germany, Janie? Somewhere? Have I calculated that right? Hopefully, I'm not. I don't know that you're necessarily in Germany. I'm just trying to guess at the time zone. Wow. Well, thanks for joining us. That is really early. UK. Okay. UK, but leaving for Germany in a few hours. Good guess. UK. UK is 8 hours ahead. Okay. You know what I just realized that I did? I was thinking 8 hours ahead from the East Coast. I was honestly thinking for a moment there that I was still in New York, and I was trying to think 8 hours ahead from East Coast time. But I'm 3 hours back in Pacific time. UK makes perfect sense, but that's what I did. I literally forgot where I was. I like that. Keelan Powell says, to add to my previous statement, I was talking about messing up my sentence. So for clarity, I was talking about your days. And I messed up typing because I was tired. I'm just going to stop typing. It's all good. It's all good. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. Sorry about that dizzy spell. That was weird. I was really spinning for a moment there, but I feel better. All right, let's see. Lobo says, funny story. This year I browsed an unsorted collection of comics that just came into a store and found a crude adult comic. Turned it into the cashier to make sure a kid didn't buy it or something. Good job. If an adult wants to look at it, that's fine, but yeah, that's not something you want out there for little kids to look at, is it? I'm going to try a little cross-hatching here. I know I'm going quiet, and today it's not because I feel bad or anything. I'm actually just getting distracted because I'm having fun drawing this. No matter how it turns out, I'm having fun. I may uh, I may go well past. Oh, I'm already at the hour, but I want to keep working. So I know I've always sort of advertised this as like just an hour, but I'm probably gonna stay a bit longer tonight. So just so you know, nobody should feel obligated to hang out if you don't want to, but I'm gonna keep working. And I'm happy to answer any questions that come through. Hey, Maddie. Maddie is probably my friend Maddie from out of town. But that's just a guess. Uh, Thank you, Shirley. She said that this is nice work. That's really nice to hear. Lobo says it wasn't even a good adult comic. At least the pages weren't sticky. Yeah, let's all say that that's a win. We'll just chalk that up to a win and leave it be. Never speak about it again. Let's see, what else? Janie Rabbit says, how much would you charge for a t-shirt design? I don't know. I haven't had great luck doing those kinds of projects in the past, Janie. It's a lot of time to get it to match the vision of the designer, and then they usually get most of the profits, and you end up feeling bad as the artist. I don't know. I don't know that that's really anything that interests me right now, and it's nothing personal at all to you. once did a t-shirt and a bunch of bookmarks that were sold in our Books A Million retailers here, and it started to bother me that I like really only made like a couple $100 off of it all, and I'm like, this isn't a major retailer. Like, it just feels weird. So I don't know. It kind of soured me on the process. Maddie says, "It's a me, Matthew. What are you guys up to, Maddie? You guys out at dinner, or did you already do dinner? Exploring my fair city?" He's hanging out with a different friend of mine. He's not staying with me, but this is my friend Maddie, and he's also a talented artist, and he's written some comics here and there. Maddie, didn't you do a horror story once with Tony Moore as the artist? What was that in? What was that published in? If people were curious about it, you should mention it. Hallie made soup. Oh, cool. Maddie asks, how would Henry propose to Punky? I think that would go a little something like this. Punky and I are getting married. My name is Henry, and Punky and I share a deep, deep, passionate love that's very hard to understand. But Punky and I are getting married. Mahoney will be the priest. Lovely, lovely Mahoney. That will only make a tiny bit of sense to people that are a certain age. And even then, it's questionable. Maddie was having me pull out my my impression of an actor who's dead. Just cannot shake this cough completely, even if I feel good. I'm loving the textures on this drawing, says Ken Ives. I can't wait to see how it turns out. Well, you're going to have to, all right? You, everybody else, is just going to have to wait. I hope you know I'm kidding. Thank you for joining us, Ken. Yeah, trying to represent all sorts of tears in like the rotting clothes as well as a rotting body. So lots of feathering. I don't know if I'm being consistent in my technique. I'm trying to be. But it's probably a long road for me to still go to get halfway decent. Punky thinks that I'm quite an artist. I frequently ask her to pose for me. Punky, get over here and... What are you doing wearing those clothes? Sorry, I'm being vulgar for the sake of a laugh. A simple laugh. I'm a simple man. T-Boz had stink lines, so Mom and Dad are giving him a bath. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad that they're letting you use their precious Wi-Fi and internet. When you did that impression, you sounded a little bit like Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart sounds a bit more dignified. No, that's not very good. Engage. Henry Wannaman. I'm just trying to see what the difference would be between those impressions. Do Captain Picard doing an impression of Henry proposing to Punky. Okay. Geordie, I assume the holodeck is in working order? Engage. Punky, it is me, Henry. Please, will you do me the honor of giving me your hand in marriage? That's my favorite. That's my favorite holodeck simulation. He kind of turned Irish at the end there. I don't know why. It could have something to do with the fact that I'm not very good at impressions. It could. Hold on. Thank you for bearing with me while I say ridiculous things that don't especially make sense. Y'all are some nice people. John Oden said, finished the Aventinus and now working on a Guinness. Oh, drinks! Lovely. I wish I could be there. But I'm recording an episode tonight and it will involve some drinking. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully not badly. Jordy, clean up in the holodeck. Pretty sure you know what I mean. That depends on how good Picard is at impressions. Hopefully not good. Hopefully he would do it just like me. Maddie says, do an impression of Mark Wahlberg pitching his burger restaurant idea to his family. He's just asking me to pull out stuff that I've done before, folks. But Mark Wahlberg, Marky Mark, or however you want to call him, the guy that's in the Transformers movies these days, he and his family opened up a chain of, or not even a chain, I don't think. It might just be a single restaurant, but it's called Wahlburgers. It's in Massachusetts, kind of near Boston. And when that was first coming out, I came up with this. I go, I'm Marky Mark in this situation. I go, with my money, Ma's recipes, and Donnie's also here, I think that this Wahlburgers could really take off. There we go. Dustin says, great illustration. I really appreciate the unmasked look. Chuck says, eat some of your boogers, please. No, I don't do everything that people ask of me. I'm not going to eat any boogers. But thanks, buddy. That's really sweet of you. It's just really nice that you could pop in to... And your first comment ever is going to be asking me to have some boogers. Sounds like somebody's life in front of a baby has given him some potty humor material. Excuse me. Eat some of your boogers. Sigamig says, did you ever have a Boston accent? Not really. Not really. When I was younger and like arguing or something, I think I did have a little bit of one, but by the time I got to college, it kind of got beaten out of me almost, because I would say just words like wicked, and people would be like, wicked? What's that supposed to mean? Keep in mind that there was no internet really back then, so local dialects were still a source of amusement. If they weren't represented in cheers, then people didn't know certain words that we used in Boston. Among them was wicked, which just meant very. Ah, that sounds wicked cool. Ah, bro. Donnie's also here. Don't forget, Donnie can do things. Donnie, you could greet the customers. Maddie did say, oh yeah, he did say please. Chuck says, I did say please. I'll eat mine if you eat yours. All right, Chuck, get on camera and show me eating your boogers, and I'll give it some thought. I'm not going to eat my boogers. That was a thing, supposedly, that some kids did when they were young. That never entered my mind as an option. I can honestly say, even as a little kid, I never thought I'm going to pull this dirt out of my body and eat it. That never occurred to me. But I guess it occurred to Chuck. Oh, Maddie says that he's eating some right now. John Oden says, ever hang out in Falls River? I've been there. I wouldn't say I ever hung out there. It's a semi-rough place, actually. I didn't live that close there. I mean, I think I went shopping with my family there a couple times, but that's about it. Falls River. But I have been there. During the day, it actually looked really pretty, so I was always sort of surprised to hear that at least it had that reputation of being rough, because I didn't think it looked bad. So, who knows? Alright, what else? I need I don't know what pen I need. Try this fine brush pen. See how this goes. Stimulating conversation this evening. Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting requests to eat boogers. That's beautiful. That's lovely. Yeah, that should work. Oh, I should have been using like this brush every time I was attempting to draw sort of musculature, just for consistency's sake. It's kind of weird drawing this version of Jason just because he's supposed to be rotting, you know. So it's kind of tricky to indicate like what I'm sort of trying to go for here is hints at like the rib cage to a degree, but yeah, I don't know if I can get it or not. We'll see. What else? Maddie says, how about for an upcoming tropes video, for every trope, you eat a booger? Jesus. I'm not eating any boogers. Just, this is the worst. This is the worst night of my life. Me, Donnie Wahlberg, reduced to eating my own boogers. It wasn't always like this. I had a career once. I was a singer. Oh, oh, are you tough enough? Hanging tough. And then one day, things took a turn. Comic book guy says, if you make a skunk ape crew symbol and post it on my Facebook telling people about Inktober. What? Oh, let me in the house, he says. I'm a little confused, actually. I'm sorry, comic book guy. I might have missed something. I didn't follow that all the way. Aku says, what are your thoughts on the recent Doctor Strange comic where he is powerless? I think it's pretty cool. I didn't read it. Surprise, surprise. But I'm curious, are you talking about the one that was illustrated by Chris Bachalo, or are you talking about, like, even more recently, there was, like, I think a comic book that got Kevin Nolan to come back as the artist? So, I'm curious which one there you're sort of talking about. And if I can know that, maybe I know a little bit more about what you're discussing. Folks, it's time for the PSA of the evening. So we're going to set aside the art for a minute. I'm going to tell you about something really important. If you have a baby, babies get stinky necks. Remember, wash your baby every several days and focus on the neck. Otherwise, you're going to have a stinky neck baby. That's the end of my PSA. I don't even own a baby, but I want you all to know about that. Inaku says that he was talking about the Chris Bachalo series. Yeah, that did look interesting, where Doctor Strange is just running around with an axe, but no big powers. I haven't read it. Is it good? I assume it must be if you're bringing it up. I am curious. Attitude Era Gaming is here and says, you should draw Leatherface. Okay. Oh, maybe you mean in the future. Gotta admit, I'm not as big a fan of Leatherface as I am of Jason as a character. Now, the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie is better than any of the Friday the 13th movies. I would be willing to go along with that, but I don't think Leatherface in and of himself is especially interesting. Not that Jason is the deepest character, I suppose. Okay, I need a bigger pen again. Yeah. I'll consider it. I'll consider drawing him. If it fits one of the upcoming suggestions. I haven't really looked too far ahead in terms of what's being suggested for Inktober. Let's see. I'll be honest, I'm throwing down blacks now, and I'm not 100% sure where I'm going with it. We're going to figure that out together. Alright, well, let's just see where that ends up going. Hi, Chris. What would you like for dinner, hypothetically speaking? Pizza, if I had to choose. Comic Book Guy says, Fear let me in the house, ma, and if you make a skunk ape crew Yamble, I will post it on my Facebook and I'll tell people about your live stream. Oh, I see. So it could be like promotion for my my live stream. Oh, that isn't a bad idea. I'm just sort of slammed with my time. Uh, but I'm not going to say no. If I get some extra time, I'll make a little symbol. And if y'all feel like sharing it to promote the live stream, that sounds lovely. All right. CSNG says, "Do you have a favorite horror movie?" Mine is The Thing. The Thing is great. The Thing is fantastic. Great, great, great movie. Um, my personal favorite, I think, would probably be Jaws, though. That really creeps me out, but the movie absolutely fascinates me. It's just a captivating sort of family drama, too. I don't know. I just really like Jaws. The Shining is also way up there. But so is The Thing. That's a good one. And you know what? I need to revisit it. It's been a little while. It's a That's a movie I would like to see again now. Now that I'm thinking of it. Good suggestion. Attitude Era Gaming says, agree. Sigamig says, I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre's fevered dream tone. It's pretty relentless. That's probably its best feature, is just how relentless it is. Uh, Almost from the very, very beginning. I mean, it's intense. Um, What else do we have here? Comic book guy says, Marky Mark from Fear let me into House Ma. Oh, I've never seen that. But I remember the movie you're talking about. I remember the previews for that one. Like, let me in. He was like some sort of abusive boyfriend. It's that sort of almost cliche. What would you call it? Like something that you'd see on the Hallmark Channel or something like that, or Lifetime. But it was actually released as a real movie. It might have even had Reese Witherspoon in it, but I actually did not see it. So uh, don't trust my memories on that one. Do you think Chrissy's actually going to get me a pizza? Oh my gosh, that would be lovely. Even if it's not a pizza, I'm just hungry, so I'll take what I can get. Cheney Rabbit says, I used to listen to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre soundtrack on repeat at university. Really well done. It's pretty eerie stuff. Attitude Era Gaming says, not trying to be picky, but if you do draw Leatherface, you should do the pretty lady version. Yeah, I do the most popular version of Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4, The Next Generation. No question. Don't worry. Yeah, everybody's favorite version. That one had, oh, who was that actor? Nowadays he's just always doing, Matthew McConaughey with a bionic leg. Just a fine piece of cinema. That's Yeah, that was a beautiful movie. All right, I can't swallow. Hopefully, this is starting to look like a guy that just has tattered rags all over him. Quite possibly layers of them. And if not, oh well. Oh, well. A pizza with macaroni noodles for the crust and powdered macaroni-style cheese for the cheese. Oh, I'll take macaroni noodles. That would be lovely. What's your favorite comic book line ever? Who put the poops in here? Oh, uh, hmm. Well, I think that there's a line that's fairly timeless, and I'm not joking here. Like, it really stands the test of time. Um, I think that Stanley's line of "with great power must come great responsibility" is fantastic. It's defining for Spider-Man, but it's like it's actually a sort of moral that we can aspire to. I kind of love it. Um, yeah, that stands out. That stands out really strongly for me as a great line in comic books. Mark Barriner says the Inktober suggestion for tomorrow is booger eating. Darn it! I just can't win. I just can't win. All right, here goes. Attitude Eric Gaming says, no, 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 the version from the 1974 dinner part. I know what you were talking about. I was just joking. Don't worry. I get it. I get it, baby. I get it. Nobody remembers Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the next generation. Yeah, that was just me having fun. What else have we got? We're teaming with boogers, says John Oden. Yeah, a little too much for my taste, personally, but, you know, it happens. Cheney Rabbit says, I'm glad I saw you were live inking. I would never have gotten out of bed in time otherwise. Yeah, a lot of people have said that I'm a hero, that I motivate people to become their best selves. Uh, who am I to fight it? You know, I might just be at that. I might be a hero. I don't know. Um, all I can tell you is that I'm just going to keep drawing, but I'm glad I could help you awaken from your slumber at such an early hour. And if anybody wants to nominate me for some sort of Nobel Prize, I guess who am I to say no, right? Who am I? I can't say no to that. Jesus says, came back. Nice drawing. Well, thank you. I'm having fun with it. Comic Book Guy says, saw Riverdale stuff at Hot Topic. Yeah, well, that sounds about right. Right. It's a CW show for teens. Yeah, that sounds like it makes sense. Do you like Johnny Cash? If so, fave song. I do like Johnny Cash. Let me think. Favorite song. Might actually be Tennessee Stud. I know that like a lot of favorites would be like, Hurt or Ring of Fire. I think there's something about Tennessee Stud. It's very evocative with its imagery. Um, Yeah, I think that that's probably my favorite. But I do like Johnny Cash, and I'm not in general a huge fan of country music or folk music. But there are definitely exceptions to that, and yeah, Johnny Cash is great, no question. I wish more people loved him, but a lot do. Interesting question, thanks. Why does it sometimes say message retracted? Is that like something that you all can do? Like you say you post something and then you're like, nah, actually that's not the question I wanted to ask, and you can just sort of like undo it? Is that what's happening? I just see that every once in a while. I've looked up and I've missed uh, a comment or something. I feel a little guilty. I'm like, I'm not trying to ignore anybody. I was just curious if that's what it is. I would say that the things I'm trying to improve on the most during my Inktober are to draw faster, to become consistent with my technique for things like feathering and shading, and to do a better job at hands. I feel like I'm not really hitting the mark there. That's my personal goals. I like his rusted cage. Oh, are you talking about Johnny Cash? Maybe. Do you prefer Chris Claremont? Don't know if I spelled that right. You did. Or Len Wein more? For me, it's Claremont because I've read more of his stuff. Maybe that's unfair, but who cares? Um, yeah, I think I'd probably say that I do enjoy Chris Claremont's a bit more, but it's been a long time since I've read anything new by Claremont. But of course, it's also been a long time since I've read anything by Len Wein. So yeah, I guess that's fair. It's interesting, I mean, I think that Chris Claremont possibly had more to say about social issues and diversity, as well as exploring various science fiction ideas, including, time travel and interacting with alien intelligence and artificial intelligence. I think he probably had a little more to say about some of those topics. But Len Wein was very creative in terms of the overall characters he would introduce. They were all very unique, diverse, and very well defined. Uh, so Len Wein I'd put slightly more as an idea man, and Claremont probably the better plotter and scripter. But he clearly had his bad habits when it came to dialogue. That said, some of Len Wein's dialogue is pretty clunky. It's slightly of its time, but yeah, it can be a little clunky nevertheless. Interesting question. Yeah. Let's see. Attitude Era Gaming says rarest comic you have. Rarest. Well, you probably haven't heard this. I've mentioned it to some other people that have been in previous live streams, but I moved across the country for a new job about 4 years ago, and at that point in time, I sold almost my entire comic collection. It was just time for me to let it go. So I don't have lots of old comics anymore. I let almost all of them go. I kept some of the stuff that like meant a lot to me personally. Either I worked on it, a friend worked on it. It just spoke to me in a certain way, so I didn't want to necessarily get rid of it. But that was very little. Most of it, I was like, nope, I gotta let it go. So I don't know that I necessarily have much in the way of rare comics. Maybe like first printing of Tick, the Tick comics. Not that those are necessarily the most valuable, but are they rare? Yeah, I think it's pretty hard to get a first printing because it was a very low print run. So that might count for rarest. I own a few copies of Walking Dead #1 first printing because just knowing Kirkman and stuff, and I got a ton of them to just sort of give out and get people interested in the book back before anyone knew that it would become popular. So still have a few of those. But I don't know if that's rare so much as valuable. So there's sort of a difference, isn't there? It's an interesting question. What about you guys? Any of you have a rare comic book? Comic book guy says, I'm a 38-year-old male who reads Archie and watches Riverdale. Oh no. Well, I'm older than that, and I also, I read Archie here and there, not regularly, but I read it and I enjoy it, and I like the CW show for the most part. So don't worry, you're not alone. I agree with Cheney. Nobody cared. It was sad, and still he was great. Oh, yeah, talking about Johnny Cash stuff. Mark Bariner says Boy Named Sue for the ending. Boy Named Sue is great. Sigamigs asks, is it true that Kirkman tricked Image into thinking Walking Dead was about aliens? It's partly true. He gave them a pitch that was just the Walking Dead, pretty much as you know it. And they were interested. They didn't know necessarily if it would be 4 issues, 6 issues, or be popular enough to just keep going on. But initially they gave him a shot. And then, like, after it had been going for just a little while, the publisher at that time was Jim Valentino. This is my understanding. It's possible that I have some of this slightly wrong, because it's been, like, over 10 years. But my understanding was, Jim Valentino eventually was kind of like, hey, where's this going? You might need to wrap this up in a few issues. This is like right at the beginning. Like only a couple issues had come out. And Kirkman was like, oh, there's going to be a big reveal eventually that all these zombies are part of an alien plot to weaken us and attack. And that just, I guess, spoke to Valentino's sensibilities. And he was like, cool, cool. And then down the road, he was like, hey, when are the aliens coming? It's been a few issues. Like, when are we going to start to hear about that? And at this point, the book was very successful, and Kirkman was like, oh, I was just kidding about that. There's no aliens coming. That's my understanding. I don't think that he mentioned aliens in the official pitch proposal, but he talked about them early on when they were like, you know, you're going to need some sort of a twist. That's my understanding. I could have that slightly wrong. You know what? You said, what's a rare comic book that I have? I have Kirkman's hand-printed comics from before he even did Battle Pope self-publishing. I have like, they're basically one of a kind. So I have like his pitch proposals for other comics that he developed, and I have a comic that he wrote and drew, something like 100 pages, and he just photocopied it to make copies. I have that. That's pretty rare, right? A one-of-a-kind Robert Kirkman written and drawn book. I think that counts as pretty rare. John Oden says that his rarest comic is Hulk 181. That's a fantastic book to have. Attitude Era Gaming says, I have Batman 66 Lost Episode signed to, Fave signed by the writer and artist. Okay. Isn't Batman 66 a book from just like a year or two ago? Am I thinking of the right one? Keelan Powell says, my rarest is either Spawn 1, if that even counts since so many people have it, or any one of my signed comics. That's fair. Sounds good, guys. Those are some cool comics. I'm missing New York already. It is a really great city. Don't get me wrong, it's tough. It's tough to deal with all the crowding and the pace, but it's exciting. There's so much to do there. It's fun to see all the people that come through, like your friends and stuff. That was a really good trip. I didn't do anything specifically about New York for an episode of Comic Tropes. I was busy enough planning all the sort of stuff that I wanted to do for like October and beyond. So, but I did film something at New York Comic Con that I'm going to use in an upcoming episode at some point. But might be a while. It'll be before the end of the year, but it might be a little while. Attitude Era Gaming explains, I mean, I have Batman 66 Two-Face Lost Episode signed by writer and artist. Oh, well, that sounds fun. I haven't read it, but it looks good. Who did the artwork on that? Did Mike Allred do any of that artwork, or I might be thinking of a separate project? But man, I could totally envision him doing a 60s style Batman comic. If he didn't, that would be really cool. What else? I guess if it's starting to get quiet, then maybe I'll wrap this up. I've got other stuff to do tonight. But I've had fun talking to everybody tonight. Thank you all for being here. It's appreciated. You all make it worthwhile. just going to see if I can sort of fill in at least this glove a bit, and I don't know, almost done. I think I'm done with the overall idea anyway. The overall idea I was going for. Which is just a really rotten Jason Voorhees, like just falling apart. Allred does the Batman 66 covers. Thank you, Cheney. I thought that I remembered his involvement somewhere, but I really couldn't place it. That makes sense to me. That's a really good fit. I like that. I keep sort of intending to end, but I'm having fun tonight with this drawing, so I'm definitely going a lot longer than I usually do. I think I've almost done 2 hours. I try to keep it to one to just say, okay, this is what I can accomplish within 1 hour, and it isn't necessarily important that I finish that illustration. It's important to see what can I get done within an hour. But I'm having so much fun with this character and all these silly details that I just can't quite seem to put it down and stop. Let's see. Oh, some people have joined. Nintendo says, I just joined and you're ending. LOL, sorry. You don't need to be sorry. I'm going to end, but not like right this second. I'm going to try to throw in a few more details and shadings to satisfy myself. It was just getting a little quiet, probably because I've been going for too long, getting people sick of me. Yeah, I gotta switch to a different pen. John Oden says, thanks for streaming. Thank you for being here. Keelan says, thanks for streaming and answering questions. The drawing's great. Can't wait for the next one. I'm looking forward to whatever the next one is, too. I don't know what the prompt is for tomorrow, but I'm excited to see. You know who does great live streams as an artist, and he doesn't do them often enough? Tony Moore. That guy is one talented artist. Now, I'm biased. I'm a big fan of his art, but yeah, I wish he'd do more. I love seeing that guy work live. Let's see. Michael Wishman says, damn, every drawing has gotten better and better. This is rad. Well, you're kind. I think it's just gotten more detailed. This isn't necessarily better. When there's a lot of detail, sometimes it can almost trick you into thinking that there's more going on than there is. I mean, I appreciate the compliment. I'm not trying to shoot that down as just that's just a comment in general. If you see a lot of detail, sometimes at first it can trick the eye into thinking that there's a lot more going on than you think there is. And I think I've got a fair amount of detail in this, a lot of different cross-hatching techniques and stuff. Shadow is the artist's friend when used properly. And when used improperly, a terrific enemy. Michael Wisman says, nice sneak adjacent too. Yeah, he's not too bad. I don't know where I put his machete and his knife, but I'm glad he's here to join us. Here, he's going to make a little cameo. Oh, that's his ugly face. You always get to see Jason's face in a Friday the 13th movie, right? No. This should be no exception. Nintendude says, just finished a Daft Punk and Jason Voorhees inking for Inktober today. That's awesome. That's fantastic. Wish I could see it. I love seeing what other people are doing during Inktober. What else? Cheney Rabbit says, yeah, I gotta leave for Europe because England forgets we're part of Europe. Be gone for a week. No YouTube, seeing any more of these till next weekend. Well, have a lovely time in Germany, Cheney Rabbit. Thank you very much for joining us this morning for you, and I hope you have an awesome trip. That's exciting. I would love to visit Germany. I've got a few friends that live there. Moved there from here in America for work, and they love it. They say it's fantastic, so it's a country I'd love to see someday. I like their food, too. I like sausages and pretzels and schnitzel and stuff like that. What country, aside from your indigenous one, has your favorite food? Like if you had to move to a foreign country based purely on what you could eat, what country would you all choose? Go. Sigamig says, I gotta say, this is my fave so far. Jesus says, man, you're going into so much detail on this drawing. Yeah, I'm kind of going down a hole. It feels like I can't quit. I don't know what's going on. I'll have to stop at some point. It's probably got enough to make sense at this point. But it can be fun to do this detail, like once you've got the framework. Like, doing this stuff is easy. You can like do this all day. Did I get this underlying structure right? You can't really even see my pencil marks anymore for like where I sort of laid that out. Did I get the big black areas right? Probably not, actually. I would say that that's a weakness with this piece. I don't think that I did spot the blacks quite right. I think that, I don't know. I'll have to analyze it later. That's the hardest part, analyzing your own work for finding the flaws and like where to fix things moving forward. Mark Bariner says, great work. That's nice of you. Attitude Era Gaming says that he wants an iPad Pro so he can draw digitally. Yeah, you and my fiance both. She really wants one of those. I draw digitally on a Surface, and I like it quite a bit. I use Photoshop and a Surface, and it's possible that I might bust that out at some point just to do something a little different. But I kind of like having this physical book of my previous drawings, you know. So wait, did I go the wrong way? Where are my drawings that I've done previously? Oh, there they are. Okay, so Doctor Strange, Iron Fist jumping. I guess I switched to the other side of the paper. Oh yeah, Galactus. That one I'm kind of proud of because I did that like in New York without many tools. Same with Screech. Those were kind of tough to do. Crooked I did in New York. What else? Oh yeah, Cloak and Dagger for Shy. Oh, see, I keep flipping like what side I was drawing from or something. That was Sword was the thing that day, so I did Jon Snow. I just can't stay consistent. Elongated Man for Long. That's not bad. That's kind of cartoony but fun. Underwater. Ooh, if I had time, I'd continue working on this one. I feel like this was going some interesting places. I would probably, if I redid this, I would put like these kind of bubbles. I would like white out a bunch of this, and I'd put a bunch around here, and I'd put a bunch coming around here to sort of show motion. But I am actually pretty happy with the overall form and stuff. That one's my personal favorite. Poison. So I did the Baroness and a Cobra. Divided was Gwenum. What's going on there? There. That's a little better. Look at this. As soon as I start doing the correction, though, I can't stop. See, I look at this and I don't love that part, but whatever. Oh, and day one, Swift. Well, where was I? I was on Jason. And I think I'm about done. If I'm so bored that I'm looking at other drawings, I guess I'm done. I can't stop, folks. I want to. I can't. I need to. I need to record an episode tonight. I want to eat some dinner. I'm getting pretty hungry. And I want to have some time to actually watch a Friday the 13th episode for Friday the 13th if I can carve out a little bit of time for myself. Okay, here's some answers for where people would move to eat food if they had to move away from their indigenous countries. CSNG says Taiwan. So much good food. Yeah. Nintendo says try to put stress marks on Jason's face, as in the mask straps have been bedding themselves in his skin. That'd be awesome. I agree that would be awesome if I was trying to sort of do the version from part 9, Jason Goes to Hell. I agree that it makes sense in general, but I didn't plan for it ahead of time So I'd have to do some serious whiteout to give myself the room to do that in this case. It's not a bad idea at all, but I would have had to have planned for it from the beginning. Other countries. Michael Wishman says Italy. Keelan Powell says Mexico. And Chrissy says, can I choose the entire Middle East Mediterranean region? Sure. You have that special ability to move all over. I think a lot of those countries do sort of share their style of food making, though. You might enjoy Greece. Greece has a pretty good blend of Mediterranean cultures and foods, and then their own style. So that's just my thinking. Did I do okay here? I don't know. Guess so. All right. I think I'm basically done. Getting rid of a few of the stronger pencil marks just to clean it up a little. But I've lost track of where some of those pencil marks were. Yeah. I think that's my Inktober drawing for the day. I drew Jason Voorhees to celebrate Friday the 13th. And I did it all with a sore throat that is killing me. But I am feeling better than yesterday. So I think I'm getting better. Hope I'm getting better. And I plan to see all of you tomorrow, same time, same place. I appreciate everybody joining and asking questions. Hopefully I'm making some progress. I want to be a better artist. It's important to me to not be stagnant. And I think that the best thing you can do is draw from life and draw all the time. Just keep drawing, drawing, drawing. So this month has been good for me. All right, folks, let's see. Nintendude says, don't worry about it. Looks amazing either way. That's kind of you. Mark Berner says, China for authentic General Tso chicken. Keelan Powell says, this is kind of random, but my favorite comic tropes episode is Rob Liefeld. Yeah, that's the one that's gotten the most views. So that's probably most people's favorite. Yep, that's right. CSNG, same bat time, same bat channel. Attitude Era Gaming says, please do Leatherface. I'll think about it. And Michael Wisman says, be there or be square. Folks, I'm taking off. It's been a pleasure talking to all of you, and I'll just do a little close-up here of, can it focus? Oh, it can't really focus that close. All right, so that's what I came up with. Put like the mask back on Jason, and I am gonna go eat some food and drink some water and take care of myself. You take care of yourself. Oh, I almost forgot. For anyone that stayed along, I once did this as a painting. This is an actual working clock. I don't have the battery in right now. I painted each Jason. He's been in 12 movies. Well, technically one of these isn't Jason. It was an imposter, but I won't spoil which one. So yeah, I once made this as a clock. That's for Friday the 13th. So that's a little treat for anybody that stayed to the end. All right, keep reading comics. Goodbye.